A portion of today's show is brought to you by Health Diagnostic Laboratory, Inc.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Well, it is Tuesday, and it is time to talk about your health and take your health seriously. And we do that, of course, with the folks from Health Diagnostic Laboratory. Dr. Tara Dahl is here with us today, and also joined by Linda Tavares. Is that correct, your last name?
Tavares.
Tavares. So, Linda, I think the issue is if you've had a heart attack, if you've had something happen, maybe you've had an operation, now you're at home with the after effects. And what do? Do you feel, because I would imagine that you feel kind of like, okay, now what? Now what? So this is a way to monitor patients after the fact.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
One of the things that you do.
Exactly. So C3 Nexus is the company that is looking at chronic care coordination. So let's say you and I are fine today. We go home, we're not feeling well, we end up in the hospital with a heart attack. We think, oh my goodness, what on earth do I do? What does this mean?
Right.
So when you're in the hospital, you really have that attention focused on clearly something needs to change, right? Mm-hmm. So suddenly I'm a mother, I'm raising kids, I'm doing all these things. I now have to go home after my illness, and how do I make sense of this? And what do? I've got this whole bag of prescriptions, and I now need to take an aspirin and a statin and maybe a beta blocker and all of that. And clearly other things in my life need to change. I probably need to
lifestyle
diet,
changes, right.
Mm-hmm. Diet, exercise, lose weight. And how do I do that? I'm busy running my life. So C3 Nexus is a company that was started to sort of help with that.
You're like a personal health assistant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it deals with biometric data. So that's going to be heart rate, EKG, blood pressure, weight. It also deals with biomarker data, which is our relationship with HDL, so that we can customize care for that patient, as well as comes with a health coach to walk with that patient for 90 days through this post-hospital experience.
And you talk to them almost every day, right? I mean, you really are in contact with patients almost on a daily basis.
Exactly. And we found, and we not only deal with heart attack patients, but we also deal with patients that have had heart failure and also patients that have hypertension, have atrial fibrillation. So there's a lot of really good uses for this program. And we found that talking to these patients 1, maybe 2 times a day is really what they needed, that connection.
Yeah.
You want to keep them
important
back out of the
this?
hospital. I mean, it's so important. I mean, once you've already had a heart attack, we talk a lot about primary prevention here, about how like advanced testing can help you detect who's at risk for having a heart attack. But we need to talk about the people who've already had a heart attack, who have congestive heart failure, who are struggling now. They've got all these medications. It's confusing. They don't know what to do, and they're in great fear of having another one. And in all honesty, the statistics show that many people get readmitted to the hospital within 30 days after they have a heart attack or if they have congestive heart failure, and that's becoming a big public health problem too. So we need to be able to keep people out of the hospital once they have a chronic disease like heart disease or heart failure. We need to be able to help them, comply with their medications and sort of get back on that path of health. And this is really a wonderful tool to really help assist them.
This is one of those things that when we talk about prevention, I think people don't realize that it's not just having a heart attack. It's not just going to the hospital or having an operation, or it is everything that happens afterwards. And the fact that you do need help kind of managing everything. I think it's one of the things that we don't think about when we think about, prevention and just not being in that situation in the first place, right?
Right.
Exactly. Well, and I think that patients today, they really want to be engaged in their care, right? And we have this big movement of patient-centric care. So patients are really the genesis of all their information, their blood information, their biometric information.
Because we do want to understand, we just want it to be understandable.
Right, and how do I engage, right? So, for example, the example of the heart attack patient, like I said, you come home from the hospital, a week or so passes, and you've kind of forgotten about that because you're back busy in life, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you have something like this, for example, what we do is this is a wearable monitor that patients actually wear 24 hours a day, and this is what, through Bluetooth technology, sends some of the data through a smartphone into our nurse coaches, our nurse concierges, who actually evaluate this data and can look for trends and then help communicate this to the patient in those daily calls and also back to the providers. What it also provides is if you go in and if you break your leg, you come out with a cast, right? So oh my gosh, I can't do X, Y, Z for some period of time. You have a heart attack, and after that little honeymoon period's over, sometimes you forget about it and go back to your old ways. Right. If you're wearing a monitor, you're stepping on a scale, you're talking to a health coach 2 or 3 times a day, you're becoming more engaged in that process.
So it's exactly like the fitness monitors that we wear, like the Fitbit or things like
Similar.
that. It's tracking the same sort of movements and activity levels, right?
Similar to that. It doesn't give you necessarily steps, and this data is actually more critical in terms of heart patients. But
So
what it does is
interesting.
it really serves to give us data to make changes.
And real quickly, is this something that that goes hand in hand with HD Labs? So when I sit down with your coaching staff, your consultants, they're going to put me in touch with you, and it's all
Exactly.
just such an easy thing. And covered by insurance usually?
Not right now. We're looking at different payment models in terms of that, but right now it's not covered by insurance.
Yeah, but keeping everything that's doable for the patient,
Exactly.
you know, is key for you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Very interesting things that we don't think about, right? All the stuff that's involved after the heart attack. You can talk to your doctor if you're interested in getting some of the testing at HD Labs. We have Dr. Dahl and her colleagues back with us every Tuesday to learn more about how their testing can help you and your family. And then she brings wonderful people like this that tell us about all these new technologies and things that just help you get a hold of your health. So you can get more information about the Health Diagnostic Laboratory by going to their website, hdlabinc.com. You can also call them at 877-4HD-LABS. And we are back in a moment with more broadcast.